All right, welcome back to Touring History, the podcast where we discover that every day in history was somehow both more boring and more insane than you'd expect. My name's Lane.
And I'm Dave, and I'm really boring. And before we dive into today's buffet of historical chaos, we need to talk about something that actually matters: good food. Today's
Yeah,
episode is brought to you by BAVA Brothers at BAVABrothers.com.
that's right. Now, Dave and I have been doing this show for a little while now, and we've learned that literally every day in history, someone somewhere was dealing with political upheaval, war, or existential dread. You know what helps with that? Authentic Italian sopressata made by people who actually know what they're doing.
That's right, Lane. When you've suffered a dam bust, the BAVA Brothers aren't just selling you processed meat. They're carrying on a family tradition that probably started around the time half the events we're about to discuss were happening. Their sopressata is made with traditional methods, quality ingredients, and the kind of care that makes you remember why humans invented civilization in the first place.
Which is perfect timing because today we're talking about June 10th. And let me
Ooh.
tell you, this date has seen some things. So grab your favorite cured meat, preferably from BavaBrothers.com, and let's get weird.
That's right. Put on a hairnet and an apron and let's go. All right. Let's start with a birthday, shall we, Lane? Because
Yes.
June 10th apparently decided to be the day when the universe just threw a bunch of interesting people at the wall to see what would stick. Oh, look, who's up there?
Yeah, we've got Judy Garland, born 1929. You know, Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yes.
But here's the thing that gets me. She was born
Mm.
Frances Gum, which
Oh.
sounds like a name you'd make up if you were trying to be a 1920s gangster but weren't very good at
Yeah, what if she were born Judy Garland and they changed her name to Frances Gum? Well, The Wizard of Oz starring Frances Gum. Hey, Frances. Hey, Frances, it's Frances Gum here. See, I'm gonna gum up your works. But seriously,
it.
Garland's story is one of those Hollywood tragedies that make you realize the entertainment industry has been systematically destroying talented people for literally decades. Just look at me and Lane.
That's right. And then we jump to Prince Philip, born 1921. Now, there's a guy who lived through basically everything we're about to talk about today: World War II, the Cold War, the invention of the internet, probably the rise and fall of 17 different boy bands.
Boy, it's too bad he missed Elon and Trump's big fight. Oh, what a shame. Prince Philip was also born into Greek and Danish royalty, but ended up as a British royal, which is like, well, imagine if you were born in Ohio, but somehow ended up running a Dairy Queen in Alaska. That's really crazy. European royalty is just geography without steps.
That's right. Oh, and Elizabeth Hurley, born 1965. You know, that reminds me of a story, Dave.
Oh, what
I
was
was
her name? Oh, sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I
Yeah.
was I was reading about how she became famous, and apparently she got attention at a movie premiere by wearing a safety pin dress in
Ouch.
1994. Just
Mm.
safety pins holding fabric together.
Ooh, that's daring. I got to tell you, especially when you're putting it on up front. That's the most British approach to fashion I've ever heard. Well, I haven't got proper fasteners, but I've got these sharp metal things, and I think I'll put them on my nipples. It's like when you're moving and you run out of tape, so you just start stapling boxes shut.
Right. And then there's Sasha Obama, born 2001, which means she's now 24 and has
Ah!
probably never known a world without social media, which is either incredibly depressing or incredibly liberating, depending on how you look at
Can you imagine being the president's daughter? I can't. In
it.
the age of TikTok, like your dad's making foreign policy decisions and you're trying to figure out if your dad's moves are going accidentally because of an international incident.
Right. Speaking of incidents, let's get chronological because June 10th has been busy for a long time. We're starting in not 1962, 1692, with something that's not going to be fun to talk about, or maybe it will be: the Salem witch trials.
Oh, yeah, Hester Prynne.
She's
Right.
the witch.
It's a witch. If she doesn't float, she's a witch. Right. June 10th, 1692, Bridget Bishop, witch, becomes the first person executed in Salem, witch. And here what gets me about the Salem witch trials. They lasted less than a year, but they become this symbol of mass hysteria that we're all referencing today.
That's right. 20 people died, Dave. 20 in a
Wow.
community of maybe 2,000 people.
Well,
That's like if everyone in your neighborhood decided that Karen from the HOA was definitely a witch and needed to be executed.
well, she is, but that's a different story. The whole thing started because some kids got sick and started having fits. Nothing to do with those mushrooms they were gobbling up in the woods. And instead of thinking, maybe they ate something weird, huh? Or maybe they're just kids being dramatic. The adults went straight to witchcraft. You're a witch!
Although to be fair, if you've ever been around a group of teenage girls, the witch explanation does start to make a certain amount of sense.
That's very true. Very true. Lane, I don't think you can say that.
Uh-oh, I'm getting canceled. I'm just saying, have you seen what they can do with eyeliner? That's basically magic.
Works for me. Now, moving on, jumping ahead to 1898, we've got U.S. Marines landing at Guantanamo Bay during the Spanish American War. And this is where it gets really interesting, Lane, because most people don't realize that Guantanamo Bay has been a U.S. naval base since 1903 and still is.
Wow, yeah, that's over 120 years. We've been there longer than we've had the Panama Canal, longer than we've had the Federal Reserve, and longer than we've had the income tax.
Well, that's a long time. It's sort of like, you know what? I know we invaded your country, but we're keeping this part. Try and get it back. The Spanish American War is one of those conflicts that feels like it was invented by someone who was really bad at risk management. Hey, let's fight Spain. What would go wrong? And then suddenly we're a colonial power with territories in the Pacific. Well, it works for me.
It's like when you're playing Monopoly and you keep buying properties without really thinking about it, and then suddenly you own half the board and you're not sure how that happened. But
No, that
Colonel
never
Jessup
happened.
but Colonel Jessup is now on that wall. You need me on that wall.
That's right. You can handle that wall. Okay,
Uh,
here's something that's actually cool. No,
okay.
I'm not talking about what I'm wearing today. 1907, the autochrome Lumiere process for color photography gets introduced. That's
Hmm.
right, color photography way back in 1907. This is
Wow.
basically the first commercially viable color photography process. Well, it must have been terribly expensive because you didn't see too many of them.
Yeah, before this, if you wanted a color photograph, you had to hand paint it, which sounds like the most tedious art project in human history.
Hey, can I get my pictures? I'm almost done here. Hold on. The Lumiere brothers, and yes, their name really literally means light in French, which is either the most perfect coincidence or the most obvious career choice ever. What should we do? Light bulbs or pictures? I don't know. They figured out how to use potato starch to create color filters. Wow, hand me another spud.
Potato starch, Dave. They
Yes,
revolutionized photography using potatoes. This is like if someone invented smartphones using corn husks.
yes, you know that Steve Jobs is just going through the vegetable bins saying, what should I use?
Yeah.
Rutabagas? Shoot. But here's what's amazing. Those early autochrome photographs have this dreamy, ethereal quality that digital photography still can't quite replicate. Amazing. Potatoes. There's something about the way the light filters through potatoes, those microscopic potatoes, that are just irreplaceable.
You're getting that look again, Dave. And
I
I'm about
sound
to
like
spend
it
20
too.
minutes explaining why old technology was superior look.
Yes. Oh, well, okay. I'm not okay. Wait a minute. Let me get these potatoes out of my ears. But seriously, we went from black and white to color in the span of about 60 years, and then from color to digital in another 60 years. Ooh, at this rate,
Mm.
by 2067, we'll be taking photographs with our thoughts. Uh-oh.
Ooh,
Watch out.
great. So future historians will have to deal with accidentally documented bathroom thoughts.
Oh,
And here we see a rare glimpse into the mind of a 2067 human. Did I remember to feed the cat? Also, why is my left toe itchy?
hmm. I need a potato. Now,
Now we're getting into the 1930s, and June 10th, 1935, Alcoholics Anonymous is founded in Akron, Ohio.
This is actually a fascinating story. Bill Wilson, who was a stockbroker, which, given that this is 1935, oof, not a very good time to be one, probably means he was having some challenges with alcohol. He meets Dr. Bob Smith, and they basically invent the 12-step program.
The timing's incredible, right? The Great
Hmm.
Depression is happening. People are losing their jobs, their homes, their hope. And these two guys are like, you know what? Let's create a support system for people who are struggling.
Yeah, it's amazing that nobody had thought of this before. And the thing is, the 12-step model that AA developed has been adapted for everything: Narcotics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous,
What about
Potatoes
Podcasters
Anonymous.
Anonymous?
Well, there's probably a support group for people who are addicted to buying that and houseplant.
Yes. Yeah. Hi, my name's Sarah, and I have a problem with succulents. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. It's your turn. But seriously, get that cactus away from your lap. We know you're hiding it. But seriously, the idea that you can create a community of people who support each other through shared experiences is revolutionary, especially in 1935 when mental health and addiction weren't exactly topics of polite conversation. Come
Right. This
on,
is
you can handle it. Yeah.
yeah, this is the era when the medical advice for depression was take a vacation. And the treatment for alcoholism was have you tried not drinking?
Oh, great advice. Yeah. Moving into the 1960s, we've got two major events. June 10th, 1963, President Kennedy signs the Equal Pay Act into law. I don't think that one
Yeah.
really took off. But anyway,
This is one of those moments where you realize how recently basic civil rights were established. 1963. That's not ancient history. That's like your parents' lifetime.
yeah, well, the Equal Pay Act was supposed to guarantee equal pay for equal work, regardless of gender. And yeah, here we are 60 plus years later, still having conversations about the wage gap.
It's like passing a law that says gravity applies to everyone equally, and then spending the next 6 decades arguing about whether gravity is real.
Come on, watch this ball. It's dropping. What do you think that is? But then, 4 years later, June 10th, 1967, we get the end of the Six-Day War with a UN brokered ceasefire.
Ah, you read that well, Dave. I would have said unbrokered ceasefire, and I was going to ask, what's an unbrokered ceasefire? Oh, no, it's a
Well,
UN brokered ceasefire. I
that's
see.
right. But there also was an unbrokered ceasefire.
It was unbrokered by the UN.
That's right.
The 6 Day War is one of those conflicts that sounds like it should be simple because it was short, but it completely redrew the map of the Middle East. Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, 6 days of fighting that are all still influencing geopolitics today.
Yeah, I don't think they really got that one right. It's like if you had a really intense argument with your neighbors about property lines. Uh-oh. And then 50 years later, your kids are still dealing with the consequences. Ma, get out of my yard!
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot
Stay on
you!
your side. This
It's,
is your side.
you know what that is? It's a fence! Don't climb it!
And the thing is, calling it the 6 Day War makes it sound almost quaint, like it
Quaint!
was a very brief disagreement. But wars don't really end just because the shooting stops.
Yeah, no. No. That one
They can
certainly.
keep simmering like
Yeah.
for the next 50, 60 years, you know.
Yeah. That one's still going on. But you know what, Lane? Speaking of things that don't end just because they're supposed to,
Oh.
well, let's talk about our relationship with good food. That's never ending for me.
Oh. Oh, here we go. Dave's got opinions about charcuterie.
Well, I do, Lane. I do have opinions about charcuterie, and specifically the one that I'm wearing around my neck. I have opinions about BAVA Brothers sopressata. It's fabulous, which is what keeps us fed while we research these episodes. Hold on, I got to take another bite.
Dave discovered BAVABrothers.com about 3 months ago, and now he's basically become a walking advertisement for traditional Italian cured meats.
It's true, I hand it out to everybody. Look, when you're spending hours reading about historical disasters, you need something that reminds you that humans are capable of creating beautiful things. Oh, and Bava Brothers sopressata is made with traditional methods, quality ingredients, and the kind of attention to detail that makes you remember why civilization was worth developing. Did I tell you about their heritage pork? It's amazing.
Plus, and this is important, when you're stress eating while researching the Salem witch trials, you want to make sure you're eating something that's actually good for you. BAVA Brothers uses no artificial preservatives, no weird chemicals, just traditional Italian curing methods that have been working for centuries.
That's right. So when you're accusing someone of being a witch, well, you better have something hearty to eat. It's like eating a piece of history, but in a good way. Not like those historical dishes where you're like, wow, people in 1847 really didn't know about seasoning. Ever heard of
Right.
salt?
So if you want to support the show and also eat incredibly good sopressata, go to bavabrothers.com. Tell them Lane and Dave sent you, and they'll know you have excellent taste in both podcasts and cured meats. Well, cured meats anyway.
Well, yes, exactly. Oh, now, back to our regularly scheduled historical chaos.
All right, 1978, and we're getting into some lighter territory. Affirmed wins the Triple Crown in horse racing.
Really? This is actually a great story because Affirmed was in this incredible rivalry with another horse named Elida. They raced against each other 10 times, and Affirmed won 7 of those races, but most of them were incredibly close. That's where the term comes from, won by a nose.
Ah, the Belmont Stakes that year, the race that clinched the Triple Crown, Affirmed won by a nose, literally a nose. The photo finish was so close that if someone had sneezed at the wrong moment, the outcome might have been different.
That's right. If one of the horses was wiping its nose with its hoof, they never would have seen the camera and the other horse would have won. And here's what I love about horse racing, it's one of the few sports where the athletes have no idea they're competing. Affirmed wasn't thinking, I need to win this to make history. He was thinking, I'm a horse and I'm running because this guy in my back told me to. By the way, I
Right.
got to sneeze.
Although, to be fair, that's probably what most professional athletes are thinking too. I'm a human and I'm running because other humans told me to, and apparently money is involved.
Oh, yeah. But then the very next year, 1977, wait, that's backwards. Time is hard.
Yay, Dave's having a temporal crisis. This is what happens when you spend too much time thinking about history. You start to
Ah!
lose track of what year it actually is.
Oh my God, there I go transposing everything. Okay, 1977, June 10th. James Earl Ray escapes from prison. James Earl Ray, the man who assassinated Martin Luther King Jr., flies the coop. You think he was helped?
Yeah, and this is where the story gets weird because Ray escaped with 6 other prisoners by hiding in a truck loaded with bread, which means his escape plan was literally hide in the carbs.
Oh, he was on the run for 3 days before they caught him. 3 days! The man who committed one of the most notorious assassinations in American history was recaptured after a long weekend. Yeah, and he ended up on the third day in England. Pfft, how'd he get
Yeah,
over there?
it's like if you planned the perfect crime and then got caught because you stopped to buy gas and forgot to wear a disguise.
Well, moving into more recent history, we've got some heavy stuff, Lane. June 10th,
Oh,
2009. There was a shooting at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C.
yeah, this one's tough to talk about, but it's important. An 88-year-old white supremacist opened fire, killing a security guard named Stephen Tyrone Johns.
But, what gets me about this is that it happened at a Holocaust memorial, a place specifically designed to remind people about the consequences of hatred and extremism. And some joker decided that was the perfect target for an act of hatred and extremism.
Yeah, Stephen Johns was working security, doing his job, protecting visitors to a museum. He died protecting people who were there to learn about history so it wouldn't be repeated.
It's a reminder that museums and memorials aren't just about the past, they're about the present and making sure we don't forget why these places exist. So, no more shooting there, please.
Yeah. On a much lighter note, 2018, NASA's Opportunity rover sends its final message from Mars.
Oh, I think I'm going to go to sleep now. Oh, this one got me though. Opportunity was supposed to last 90 days on Mars. It lasted almost 15 years. Like, hey, dude, yeah, you could take a break. It's like you bought a car that was supposed to last until your next oil change, and instead, it lasted until your kids graduated college. Never happened, Lane.
And the final message, according to the internet anyway, was basically my battery is low and it's getting dark, which is either the most poetic ending to a space mission ever or the most depressing.
Oh my God, it's so sad. I'm all alone. Will somebody come get me? Sorry. I
I'm
love
getting
what
cold, Dave.
Yeah,
I'm
I've been
getting cold,
waiting.
Dave.
I've been waiting not 15 minutes, but 15 years. Will somebody, for God's sake, get up here? Call me an Uber. I love that we sent a robot to Mars and it became this beloved character that everyone was rooting for. Come on, buddy, you can last another 20. People were genuinely sad when Opportunity stopped communicating.
Yeah, it's
What?
like Wall-E, but
Yeah.
real and on Mars, and it's been 15 years taking pictures of rocks and sending them back to Earth like a proud parent.
Can you imagine? I mean, not only is he up there for that long, but he's got to take pictures of rocks. And finally, we get to 2020, which was a year. That's right, like all the others. June 10th, 2020, a statue of Jefferson Davis was toppled in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah, this was during the nationwide protests following George Floyd's death, and people were finally saying, you know what? Maybe we don't need statues of the President of the Confederacy in our public squares.
Yeah, it's sort of like if in Germany they still had statues of Hitler and, Goebbels.
Right.
Well, they lost the war, but we're keeping them up. Jefferson Davis was the president of a government that existed for 4 years, only 4 years, lost a war, and was specifically created to preserve slavery. Having statues of him is like having statues of the CEO of Enron. The lights are out? Who cares?
Yeah, although to be fair, the CEO of Enron probably didn't cause a war that killed 600,000 people.
No, just a few, though. The statue thing is fascinating to me because it's this physical manifestation of how we choose to remember history. What we put up, what we take down, and what we choose to commemorate. I know it's deep, but I just had to say it.
Right, because statues aren't just decoration,
Oh, no.
they're statements about what we value, what we want to remember, and what we want to celebrate.
Again, very deep, Lane. And the fact that it took until 2020, more than 100 years later, to remove a statue of Jeff Davis from Richmond, which, by the way, was the capital of the Confederacy, or as they call it, the War of Northern Aggression, that tells you something about how slowly these conversations happen.
I like that you just called him Jeff Davis. I'm
Jeff!
just shortening it up, like he won't mind.
Hell no.
So there you have it, June 10th: witches, wars, color photography, horse racing, prison escapes, civil riots and rights, space robots, statue removals, and potatoes.
Potatoes. It's like someone took the entire human experience and compressed it into a potato chip in a single day. We've got art, we've got science, tragedy, triumph, and people making questionable decisions with profound consequences. Leave
And
that
somehow,
statue up.
and somehow through all of this, people kept making sopressata, which
Ah,
brings us back to BAVA Brothers and at bavabrothers.com, where they are carrying on traditions that have survived everything we just talked about.
history is chaos, but good food is eternal, Lane. That's probably not a great quote or a real one, but it should be.
Next week, tomorrow, we're looking at, well, no, I guess it is next week. Next week, we're
Next
going to
week.
look at June 17th, which apparently decided to be the day when everything goes wrong in the most interesting possible ways.
Ooh, I can't
And
wait.
we'll have 6 other episodes between now and then.
That's right, but I'm really excited about June 17th. Oh
I
my
know, I'm
gosh.
teasing you, teasing
Woo!
everyone. Tune in,
Wow! Wait a minute. I want to know. Until then, remember that today is history too, so try making it interesting.
but not too interesting. We've got enough material already.
Well, we make it a little interesting.
A little,
Well,
yeah.
make it a little
Go do
interesting. I'm
something
Dave.
fun and interesting, and I'm Lane,
Yes,
and then
and touring
touring
history.
history. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
seriously though, go buy
yeah.
some BAVA Brothers. We're running out of
Yeah,
snacks.
sopressata. We're running out of snacks. Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.